You're listening to Keith Sports News. Hey, how's it going, folks? Welcome to KSN episode 59. Yes. Again, if you hear that noise in the background, that's my mini fan. The reason why I have that on is because it's kind of warm in this room, so but luckily the microphone isn't right next to the fan, so it shouldn't be too loud on the mic. So yeah, I'm going to talk about, the main thing I'm going to talk about is Major League Baseball's Home Run Derby and the All-Star Game. And later, the shirt that I'm wearing, yes, my favorite team was in action. The Montreal Alouettes of the CFL. They played last night. I will talk about that a little later. But let's begin with the Home Run Derby, which was on Monday night. Did I watch it? Yes. How much did I watch it? All of it. That's right. I actually watched a full broadcast. I watched it with my father. Sometimes we watched it together. And this year, we watched it together, and I gotta say, I was entertained from start to finish. That's why I watched the whole thing, you know. Listen, when I first started watching the Home Run Derby, it was in 2013. 2013 was the year where I got into watching sports. So my first Home Run Derby I watched was back in 2013. It was in Citi Field, home of the New York Mets, and Chris Berman. Do y'all remember Chris Berman from ESPN? The GOAT? In my opinion, he's the greatest of all time on ESPN. Yeah, he was the announcer. And back then, the rules were different. There was no time limit. You get the number of outs. And I liked it like that. Chris Berman made it entertaining. But then a couple years later, they changed it to the countdown format, where they add a timer. When they first introduced that, I think that was in 2016. I didn't know what to think of it. So, but I kind of liked it in a way. And then 2017, Chris Berman stopped announcing the Home Run Derby, and I was kind of disappointed because I've always liked him. So, you know, Carl Ravitch took over, and ever since, Carl Ravitch is the Home Run Derby announcer. But I kept watching it. But then, like, a couple years ago, I kind of lost a little interest of it. Remember in 2021, if y'all remember, the 2021 Home Run Derby and All-Star Game was supposed to be in Atlanta, but they moved it to Colorado. And then 4 years later, in 2025, the Home Run Derby and All-Star Game was held in Atlanta. And then the Home Run Derby just got too crazy for me. For a lot of people, it was like crazy fast pace. A lot of the batters, they were swinging the bats like crazy. It's like, it's weird to watch that because you don't have time. You can't even see where the ball is landing a lot of times because they keep swinging at the next pitch like crazy. It's fast paced because of the timer. You know, back when there was no timer, it was the number of outs. You don't have to swing fast. You don't have to swing at every pitch. So back when it was just the number of outs, when you swing at a pitch, it's either a home run, and if it's not a home run, it's an out. But back then, there wasn't that many home runs in the Home Run Derby, and I think that's the reason why fans didn't like the Home Run Derby like that, or the new fans. They decided to add the timer. But like I said, I was kind of into the time limit format, the brackets, where they would seed the players, right? But then, a couple years ago, like I said earlier, I kind of lost interest in it. I think it's because it just got too much for me. Especially, I think it was 2 years ago, 2023. Where was that at? Seattle. Uh, T-Mobile Park. Used to be known as Safeco Field. All right. And man, that was, if y'all remember watching the 2023 Home Run Derby, it was like crazy. It was too much. The pace is too fast. And I didn't like it like that. And I think a lot of people didn't like it as well. So then, 2024, last year, they changed it. But it's a shorter time limit. And you get a certain amount of pitches. You get a certain amount of pitches in a certain amount of time. So that's also kind of weird. I think it's like 30 pitches in 3 minutes. You have to throw 30 pitches in 3 minutes or something like that. But this is better. This new home run derby format is better than, a couple years ago. Because the players don't have to swing like crazy. They don't have to go as fast, and they don't have to swing at every single pitch. So that's good. So it is better, in my opinion, than what it was a couple years ago. But I still prefer the outs. I still prefer the old school format. That's just me. And every year I would watch an old home run derby on YouTube. Certain events, I would watch an old event on YouTube. Home run derby. Grey Cup for the CFL, and the Super Bowl for the NFL, just to name a few. Okay, and I've always liked Chris Berman, so I wanted to watch an old home run derby where it was the number of outs and he was the announcer. So I'll tell you, the old home run derby I watched was in 2000. Why did I pick that one? Because the year 2000, they were also in Atlanta, but it was the old stadium in Atlanta. Yeah, it was the former stadium before their current stadium, Truist Park. It was that stadium. I think it's called Turner Field. Ted Turner. Yeah. Who used to own the Atlanta Braves and the Hawks. But yeah, that's what I did. I would like to do that. I usually do it like that. I remember 2 years ago they were in Seattle. I watched the old home run derby when they were in Seattle. I think it was in 1998 or 99, the late 90s. And yeah, I was entertained. I watched that old broadcast of the home run derby 2000 when they were in Turner Field. And yeah, Chris Berman was the announcer alongside with the great Joe Morgan. God rest his soul. I've always liked him. And they had Alex Rodriguez as a special guest. Yeah, young Alex Rodriguez. And now you see Alex Rodriguez on, the Fox Sports pregame show. So yeah. Anyways, this year's home run derby. So there were 8 players, right? And oh yeah, and the cool thing about this new format is they're not seeded. Only the semifinals are seeded. Okay? So rounds 1 and 2, they're not seeded. You got 8 players. The top 4 advance. Alright? And so the 8 players that they were in, at least half of the players I've never heard of. So it's a lot of youngsters out there. Alright? So I have to look up the results of the home run derby because I forgot the names of the players that were in it. Only the winner, I remember his name. So let me look up 2025 Home Run Derby. Why is it called Home Run Derby? Derby, like the Kentucky Derby? I don't know. So let's see. 2025 Home Run Derby. Alright. So, here are the players. I forgot who was up first here, so I'm just gonna. I think they sorted out by the winner to the player that hit the least amount of home runs. So we got Jazz Chisholm Jr. from the New York Yankees in round one. He hit only 3 home runs. Matt Olson, who, I think they were supposed to have Ronald Acuna Jr., but he got replaced by Matt Olson for the Atlanta Braves. Yeah, usually every year at the Home Run Derby, they would have a home team player participate. So in this case, it was Matt Olson. He hit 15 home runs. James Wood for the Washington Nationals, I've never heard of him. He hit 16 home runs. Brent Rooker from the Athletics, I've never heard of him as well. He hit 17 home runs. Byron Buxton, who plays for the Minnesota Twins, he hit 20 home runs. He's a great player, but the problem with him is he always gets hurt. I don't know why. He's one of those athletes that gets hurt too many times. All right. He hit 20 home runs, and he was like chewing gum. O'Neal Cruz, I've never heard of him. Plays for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He hit 21 home runs. Junior Caminero, I've never heard of him as well. He plays for the Tampa Bay Rays. He hit 21 home runs. And Cal Raleigh for the Seattle Mariners hit 17 home runs. So yeah, half of these players I've never heard of. But these players that I've never heard of, these are young players. Some of them are younger than me. It's crazy. Watching some athletes that are younger than me. All right. So, the top 4 advance, in this case, it was Cal Riley, Junior Caminero, O'Neal Cruz, and Byron Buxton. And they would seed them, okay? So, number 1, O'Neal Cruz took on number 4, Cal Riley, or Raleigh. Cruz hit 13 home runs. Raleigh hit 19. Raleigh came up first, so he hit 19, and then Cruz came in second, and he had to, at least get 19 home runs, but he only got 13. So Raleigh advanced to the finals. The second semifinal, Byron Buxton against Junior Caminero. Buxton was up first. He hit 7, and Caminero easily got 8. Yeah, because when you come up second, your goal is to get one more than, the last player, and that's what happened. Caminero got 8. So the finals was Cal Riley against Junior Caminero. Riley came up first. He hit 18, and Junior Caminero hit 15. So Cal Riley, the 2025 Home Run Derby winner. And here's the cool thing. I'm actually glad he won because his father was throwing the baseballs at him, and there's a catcher. And the catcher is his younger brother. I think he's like, only 15 or 16? So I'm glad the Riley family won the Home Run Derby. And, I was entertained from start to finish. It was on ESPN. ESPN2 had, the StatCast version. But I mainly watched the main broadcast. And the weird thing about, when you watch the old Home Run Derby format, it's slower pace. And, Chris Berman and the other announcers, they'll get to announce the home runs, But ever since they introduced the time clock, the announcing style is different. But, yeah. But yeah, I was entertained from start to finish. Now, normally, years ago, after the Home Run Derby went off the air, ESPN, they would show the All-Star Celebrity Softball game. All right. But recent years, ESPN no longer broadcasts that, so it's on MLB's YouTube channel. So on Tuesday afternoon or early evening before the All-Star game, I watch the All-Star Celebrity Softball game. I watch that every year, and it's a silly game. That's basically what it is. There's a few celebrities that I heard of, but not many. Not many celebrities that were in this year's softball game, never heard of. I would usually hear, former players. Terrell Owens, the former NFL player, he was in it. CC Sabathia, the former Yankees pitcher, that big player. Yeah, he was the MVP. MVP. And there's a player that's always in it every year. The great softball pitcher, Jenny Finch. A well-known face. She's always in it, so... yeah. So I watched that before the All-Star game, and then the All-Star game happened. Yeah. I decided to do a live stream of me watching the All-Star game. And I didn't say that I would. In the last episode of KSN, you didn't hear me say, hey, I'm going to do a live stream of me watching the 95th annual MLB All-Star game. I didn't say that because I didn't make my decision yet. But I made my decision the night before. And I'm glad. I'm glad I did a live stream of me watching the All-Star game. And yeah, the reason why I decided to watch the All-Star game this year, one reason. The main reason, that reason is because the players are no longer wearing ugly uniforms. Thank you. Thank you, MLB, for finally not allowing the players to wear ugly uniforms. Last year, when they were in Arlington, those were the worst uniforms ever. Like, that was the last straw. People had enough of that crap. So finally, the players are back to wearing their real uniforms. Now, Home Run Derby, they usually wear ugly uniforms, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But the actual All-Star game, I was not okay with the players wearing ugly uniforms. They started doing that in 2021, but in 2021, those uniforms didn't look that bad. But then it got uglier and uglier the next couple of years, so I stopped. I stopped watching it since 2022. I didn't watch it in 2022, 2023, and 2024. Oh yeah, I also didn't watch it in 2021. I only watched the highlights. But I listened to it on radio. Recent years, I would listen to it on ESPN radio because I like the ESPN announcers more than the Fox announcers. Now this year, since I watched it, I didn't watch it on Fox. Yeah, you're probably thinking, what? What are you talking about? The game was on Fox. Yeah, it was for American viewers. But I have this app on my Amazon Fire Stick. It's one of those illegal apps. I didn't get it. My brother did. He pays for it every month or every 6 months, I think. Yeah, I don't know how he got that app, but it's got thousands and thousands of channels across the world. And I get the Canadian sports channels. Sportsnet and TSN, and that is how I became a fan of the CFL, because I have access to the TSN channels. So, I watched it on a broadcast called MLB International. Now, MLB International is for viewers that live outside of the United States. So, in Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, they get this version. So I watched that version. I didn't watch it on Fox. To me, MLB on Fox is not the same anymore. Ever since Joe Buck left after the 2021 season, Excuse me. I sneezed. I try to mute my mic whenever I have to sneeze. But yeah, ever since 2021, after the 2021 season, Joe Buck left Fox to join ESPN, where he became the new voice of Monday Night Football. And it hasn't been the same ever since, because he was on there for a long time. He called a bunch of World Series, and I missed him, you know. He doesn't call any baseball games anymore. Although he did call one game, the opening day game at Yankee Stadium. They invited him to do a game, and he said yes. But that was like a one-time thing. And you know how ESPN they would broadcast the wild card games? I wonder if if they'll let him broadcast a wild card series. I hope so, but maybe not. But I've always liked when he was on Fox, you know, both MLB and NFL, but mainly MLB, alright? But it hasn't been the same ever since, after the 2021 World Series. You know, they introduced that score bug. I don't like that score bug. It just looks weird to me. But I'm used to it now, because, you know, we're approaching 4 years. I hope they'll change it this year in the postseason. They would change it like every 4 years. Yeah, they changed it 2017, 2021. Here we are in 2025, so hopefully they'll change it in October. And also, I'm not really a fan of Joe Davis. He's just, I don't know. I mean, he's a great announcer, but it's kind of weird that he's the one that succeeded Joe Buck. You know, years ago, Matt Vasgersian used to be on Fox with John Smoltz. But then Vasgersian became the Sunday night baseball announcer for ESPN for whatever reason. Well, it's because Dan Shulman, the former announcer, he stepped down. But Dan Shulman is the voice of the Toronto Blue Jays, so Matt Vasgersian became the Sunday Night Baseball announcer from 2018 to 2021, and then in 2022, Carl Ravage has been the Sunday Night Baseball announcer. And after Matt Vasgersian left ESPN after the 2021 season, and I thought to myself, oh, well, Joe Buck left Fox to join ESPN. Matt Vasgersian left ESPN. So I was hoping they would bring back Matt Vasgersian so he can reunite with John Smoltz. But no, that didn't happen. It was Joe Davis. And the weird thing about Davis is that he's also the voice of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Isn't that weird? Like, do we have to hear this guy's voice a bunch of times? I mean, if you're a Dodgers fan, I mean, if you watch Dodgers games, some of their games are on Fox if they're playing on Saturday, and Joe Davis is the announcer again, you know, in the postseason. Here he is again. And he also does NFL games. Like, geez, he's one of those announcers that just calls a bunch of games. But since I don't have to watch it on Fox, I watched it on MLB International. And you know who the announcer was? It was Matt Vasgersian. I didn't thought he would be the announcer. Recent years, it was Dave Fleming. I like Dave Fleming. I think Fleming is also the voice of the San Francisco Giants radio. Him and John Miller. Yeah, Giants, they have some great announcers. But no, yeah, it was Matt Vasgersian. Because I'm familiar with his voice. Matt Vasgersian was the voice of MLB The Show's video game for many years, but he stopped. He's no longer the voice. It's now John Shambi, and I like him as well. So, yeah, when I heard Vasgersian's voice, I'm like, oh, wow, Matt Vasgersian? So, yeah, I've always liked him. But it would be great if he can reunite with John Smoltz on Fox. In my opinion, he should be the voice of the World Series. That's just me. Plus, he's been around for many years. I forgot who. I don't know. I never got to know who his broadcast partner was. Matt Vasgersian for the All-Star game. Because they never got to show the announcers for that broadcast. But anyways, the All-Star game, they would have they would always have that ceremony where they introduce the players and the lineup and all that. And Joe Davis became the PA announcer. Now Joe Buck used to do that, where he would announce all the players for both leagues in front of the stadium. The PA announcer, yeah, Joe Davis does the same thing. All right. And yeah, I'm just glad. The best part about this All-Star game, players are no longer wearing ugly uniforms. That's the best part. So I'm glad they're no longer doing that, and that's why I came back to watch this game, and that's why another reason why I did that live stream of me watching the game. All right. So the game started late. It didn't start until like 7:25 Central, and the game was in Atlanta. They're in Eastern time. They had to wait until 8:25, almost 8:30. Now, it was warm. Yeah, because they call it Hot Atlanta. They don't call that for nothing, because it gets hot in Atlanta in the summer, and it rains a lot there in the summer. So why doesn't the stadium have a roof? I don't understand that. They don't have a roof. They should have a roof. The football stadium has a roof. Remember the Georgia Dome? That was a dome. That roof can't be open, Like, I don't know why the Atlanta Braves don't have a roof. And remember the 2021 World Series? Atlanta Braves, they were in it, and the weather was terrible. If they had a roof, you don't have to worry about the weather. That's why they should have a roof. Yep, my least favorite team. All-Star game was at my least favorite team's stadium. I mean, they have a nice stadium, don't get me wrong, but they should have a roof. Last year, they were in Arlington. It gets hot there in Texas, so they closed the roof. So I don't know why the Braves don't have a roof in their stadium. But yeah, it was a hot All-Star game. And I did pick the National League to win. I did say that in the last episode. I did pick the National League to win. Alright. So I'm going to have to look up the scoring summary, because sometimes I forget here. Luckily, I have the ESPN app. That's what you can do on here. Alright. Look up the scorecard. Or the game summary. Now at the All-Star game, you have 6 umpires, just like in the playoffs, postseason. You got 6 umpires. Dan Iasonia was the home plate umpire, and they introduced a new thing, a ball strike call challenging system for the first time. My thoughts on that? I don't know what to think of that, because that was like a first time we experienced that, where they would get the calls correct. I don't know how many challenges do the teams get. Do you get 3 challenges per game? Now this is only for the All-Star game. I'm pretty sure this is only for the All-Star game, but they might introduce this next year permanently. So yeah, but it's kind of weird at first because it's another new change, Sometimes people don't like these changes, and I'm kind of like that too. Pitch clock, not really a fan of that. It's too quick. That's my problem with it. And the worst rule, in my opinion, is the extra inning rule, the ghost runner. A lot of people don't like that. I heard that a lot of people don't like that. So they should just get rid of it. And it's so bad. That rule's terrible that they don't even have that in the playoffs. Like, that's how terrible that rule is. But yeah, the ball strike challenging system, it's interesting. But I do like the human calls. Now in tennis, a lot of tournaments don't have line judges. Linesmen, they don't have those anymore. Wimbledon, I believe this was the first Wimbledon that they did not feature any linesmen or line judges. It was all electronic calls. But that I'm okay with. Because, you know, when they had the linesmen and the line judges, the players could challenge. But now that a machine calls the balls, whether if they're in or out, you don't have to challenge. But I don't know. I heard that we're gonna have robot umpires in the future, where they'll get every single call correct. Now I want the umpires to be on the field, because I do like watching the umpires sometimes. Hey, I actually dressed up as one a few times for Halloween. I might do it again this year. If I do, then I'll have to show you my outfit. So I didn't really have much of a reaction. I don't really have much of a thought on that. The ball strike system, challenge system. But I guess it was a good idea for them to introduce that, because the All-Star game doesn't really mean anything much anymore. It used to really meant something in the old days. Why? Because back in the old days, there was no interleague games, meaning an American League didn't play any National League teams. You know, now every team plays all the teams, and I'm not a fan of that. I don't really like that. That's why the All-Star game doesn't really mean much anymore. Plus, a lot of the players, they get paid so much freaking money. It's unbelievable compared to the old days. Back in the old days, the players didn't make as much money as they do now, just like in all other sports. See? Money talks. Money talks. It really does. But the MLB All-Star game is still the best one out of the 4 major sports. The NBA All-Star game, that's a joke. People are criticizing that like crazy. NFL Pro Bowl, well, it's no longer called a Pro Bowl, it's called flag football, but the players like it, so if they like it, then good for them, but I don't know if any of the fans like it. I'm not sure how many people would actually watch that. I didn't. I had no interest in that. Now, the NHL, they got rid of their All-Star game this year, and they introduced the 4 Nations Face-Off. Now, that was a huge success. A lot of people were watching that. I got into that. I think they're going to have that like every other year. So next year, there may not be an All-Star game, because next year is the Winter Olympics, and the NHL players are finally going to come back to that. So that'll be exciting. So yeah, but MLB All-Star game, it's still a pretty good game to watch, even though it doesn't really mean anything anymore. But it's called, you know, they call it an exhibition. Alright? So, the American League, the visiting team, the National League, the home team, the bottom of the first, Marte doubled to right, Acuna Jr. scored, and Ohtani scored, and the National League was up 2-0. The 6th inning, yeah, it was 2-0 until the 6th inning. The 6th inning, Pete Alonso, 2-time home run derby champion, hit a 3-run shot to make it 5-0 National League. And then in the bottom of the staying in the bottom of the 6th inning, Carroll from the Diamondbacks hit a home run to right center to make it 6-0 National League. And I'm like, oh my gosh. National League might actually win this game. All-Star game is usually low scoring, but this one was more of a higher scoring game. So then I wanted the American League to make a comeback. And that is exactly what they did in the 7th inning. Roker homer to left center to make it 6-3. And then in the 7th inning, Witt Jr. grounded out to second, and Garcia scored to make it 6-4. And I'm like, okay, the American League is coming back. The 9th inning, I wanted the American League to tie the game, or at least take the lead, or at least tie the game, and that's what they did. 6-6. They tied it up after being down 6-0. The American League came back. Amazing. So 6-6. Bottom of the 9th, the National League did not score any runs. So what does this mean? Extra innings, right? No. No extra innings in the All-Star game. They got rid of that. They introduced a new rule from a couple years ago called the home run swing off. And for the first time, we got to experience that. The home run swing off. Alright? So, that was interesting. I was actually looking forward to that, because that has never happened before. The home run swing off. You get 3 teams from each league. And you get 3 swings, and after the 3 rounds, that'll decide which league will win the All-Star game. If it's still tied, sudden death. It's kind of like the NHL shootout or the UFL 2-point conversion attempts. That's kind of what that is. All right. So the players that were in this tiebreaker swing off. 3 from the American League and 3 from the National League. Brent Roker from the Athletics, Randy Arozarena from the Mariners, and Jonathan Aranda from the Rays. In the National League, Kyle Stowers from the Marlins, Kyle Schwarber from the Phillies, and Pete Alonso from the Mets. Alright. And people were wondering, why not Aaron Judge, or why not Shohei Ohtani? You know what, I actually haven't thought of that. I didn't thought of that at the time when they made these announcements. But that's what I heard from, the Michael K show. I don't even know if they were still at the ballpark. I mean, they were in the All-Star game. I don't even know if they were still at the ballpark when this tiebreaker occurred. But I think I heard that they were supposed to make these announcements before the game started. But it would have been epic if Ohtani and Judge were in this tiebreaker, because they were, 2 of the greatest players in today's Major League Baseball. So up first was Roker, Brent Roker. So you get 3 swings, right? He hit 2 out of 3. You got 2 home runs. Randy Arozarena. They go back and forth. I forgot. They go back and forth between American League and National League. So Brent Roker up first from the American League. He hit 2 home runs. National League, Kyle Stowers hit 1 home run. Back to the American League, Randy Arozarena hit 1 home run. Alright. So, then Kyle Schwarber from the Phillies hit all 3 home runs. So then, the final player of the American League, Jonathan Aranda, didn't get any home runs, 0. And Pete Alonso didn't have to come up to the plate because the National League already won 4-3 in the tiebreaker, and that's how they won the 95th annual All-Star game. And what are my thoughts on that? I kind of liked it like that. I thought it was pretty cool to watch. The players, they loved it. You saw their reaction after the game. And yeah, it was interesting because this has never happened before. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. So I guess I kind of liked it. It's an All-Star game. That doesn't really mean anything. If this was from the old days, nah, you can't have that. Because back in the old days, the All-Star game really meant something, especially the 70s, 80s, even the 90s, it meant something, That's because back in the old days, all the teams didn't play against all the teams, Only American League teams played against other American League teams. And National League teams only played against other National League teams. I wish we can go back to that, but it is what it is. Now, a question that people are probably going to ask. Should we have this permanently in regular season games instead of the Ghost Runner? To me, no. As much as I don't like the Ghost Runner rule, I don't think we should have this tiebreaker swing off in regular season games, but if they decide to introduce that next year permanently, I won't be surprised. So, yeah. Next year is the World Baseball Classic, and I wonder if they're going to use the pitch clock. I think they will. And in 2023, they didn't use it in 2023, even though 2023 was the first regular season where they introduced that. But we'll have to find out. I still want to go to a game in Houston. They're going to be they are one of the venues that will be hosting the World Baseball Classic, so I'll try my best to go to a game. Alright, so that's not until March of next year. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the All-Star game. I enjoyed the Home Run Derby. I watched it from start to finish. Okay? And for those of you that watched my live stream reaction, thank y'all so much. I really appreciate you guys. Oh yeah, you see the Chick-fil-A barbecue sauce? Some people were asking me about that. What kind of Chick-fil-A sauce is that? And man, the live stream, a lot of people tuned in, especially during the tiebreaker home run rule. At one point I had I think 40 people watching. But then after the tiebreaker, after the game ended, a lot of people tuned out, which I was expecting that to happen. But I have never experienced that many people at once tuned in to a stream on this channel and the main channel, Eric Super Magnificent. It's never happened in the history of both channels. Crazy. The stream went well. At the beginning we had some technical problems, some connection issues, but not too long after the connection got excellent and it stayed great for the rest of the stream. And I showed you the TV screen. Thankfully that stream did not get copyrighted. Alright. So it went well. So I thank all of y'all that tuned in for that. And, the All-Star game, I forget when they did this, but they did that Hank Aaron tribute was really cool. That was very, very special, because Hank Aaron is one of the all-time great players in Braves history. So that tribute to him was excellent. I have never seen anything like that. How did they do that? The crazy technology that we have nowadays is Nuts. So that was awesome. You know what else was awesome? The seventh inning stretch. The man, I don't know his name, but he was wearing a tuxedo. Oh, man. What a performance from him. He sang God Bless America. That's what they would do in the seventh inning stretch. So, yeah, I enjoyed both the Home Run Derby and All-Star Game. And people say that this is the halfway point of the season. It actually isn't. We're already more than halfway through the regular season. Regular season, you play 162 games. So half of that is 81. All the teams have played more than 81 games. So this is not the exact halfway point. If it was, and it would be, the All-Star Game and Home Run Derbies would be in the last week of June, I believe. For whatever reason, it's always been in mid-July. So now we're going to check the standings. Let's check the standings. I forgot to do this in the last episode, but I'll do it right now. Let's check the standings before the second half. People say the second half, or the rest of the season, resumes. In the American League, the Toronto Blue Jays are in first place. 55 wins and 41 losses, followed by the New York Yankees. They're 2 games behind. The Boston Red Sox are 3 games behind. The Tampa Bay Rays are 5.5 games behind, and the Baltimore Orioles are 11.5 games behind. People were wondering, if the Rays make the playoffs, then we assume that that minor league ballpark will be where their home games are going to be at for postseason games, right? What if somehow the Rays make the World Series? So the World Series is going to be at a minor league stadium. We'll see if that really happens. I guess the answer would have to be yes, because Tropicana Field will not be ready until I think next year. That minor league ballpark is a better venue anyways, even though it's outdoors in the hot heat. It just looks better. Tropicana Field is one of the worst, if not the worst venue right now. Okay, to the American League Central, the Detroit Tigers are in first place. 59 wins and 38 losses. The Minnesota Twins are 11.5 games behind. Yeah, they're in second place in that division. So it seems like the Tigers are going to win that division. The Kansas City Royals are 12 games behind. Same with the Cleveland Guardians. The Chicago White Sox, the team that broke the record from last season of the most losses in modern era history, they are 27 games behind. The American League West, the Houston Astros have 56 wins and 40 losses. The Seattle Mariners are 5 games behind. The Texas Rangers are 8.5 games behind. The Anaheim Angels, yeah, I call them Anaheim Angels instead of Los Angeles because they're really in Anaheim. They're 9 games behind, and the Athletics are 16 games behind. Some people pick the Texas Rangers not only to win the American League West, but to win the division. In the National League, the Philadelphia Phillies are in first place in the East with 55 wins and 41 losses. The New York Mets are half a game behind. The Miami Marlins are 10.5 games behind. The Atlanta Braves, my least favorite team, they're 12.5 games behind, and the Washington Nationals 17 games behind. In the National League Central, the Chicago Cubs have 57 wins and 39 losses. The Milwaukee Brewers have they're 1 game behind, okay. St. Louis Cardinals are 6.5 games behind. The Cincinnati Reds are 7.5 games behind, and the Pittsburgh Pirates are 18.5 games behind. And in the National League West, the LA Dodgers have 58 wins and 39 losses. The San Diego Padres are 5.5 games behind. The San Francisco Giants 6 games behind. Arizona Diamondbacks 11 games behind. And the worst team, Colorado Rockies. I have to say their win-loss record, 22 wins and 74 losses, 35 and a half games behind. Will they still break the record? I think they will. The second worst team is the White Sox, I believe. They have 10 more wins than the Rockies. Man, it's crazy. Let's see here. Streaks. Any interesting streaks going on? I think I heard that the Boston Red Sox. Yes, the Boston Red Sox won 10 games in a row. So before they won 10 games in a row, they were 43 and 45. Now they're 53 and 45. Look out now to those hot Boston Red Sox. Now, if y'all remember, months ago before the season began, I did made my World Series prediction, which is very hard to do. Coming out of the American League, I have the Boston Red Sox. And the National League, I have the Philadelphia Phillies. So my World Series, I have the Red Sox and the Phillies. And I think I picked the Red Sox to win because it is hard to pick against that team in the playoffs. They always have a great playoff run, it seems like. That's still a possibility. I don't think that's going to happen, though. But I don't know. I think it's tough. A lot can happen. A lot can change this season. And let me say this: there's someone's World Series prediction is the same as mine, and that is Steve Phillips. Steve Phillips from MLB Network. His World Series prediction. He also has the Boston Red Sox against the Philadelphia Phillies. Oh boy. And if this is the World Series, I am going to cheer for the Phillies to win because the Red Sox, they are my second least favorite team. And Bryce Harper. I've always liked Bryce Harper. I remember when he played for the Nationals. Nationals used to be my favorite team. And then the Nationals, they won the World Series without him, 2019. And that was Bryce Harper's first year as a Philly. So I'll cheer for the Phillies if they're in the World Series and if they play against the Boston Red Sox. I guess I'll make my other predictions in terms of which teams will win the divisions. The American League East. The way things are going, it might be the Red Sox. I guess I'll pick the Red Sox to win the American League East. American League Central, I gotta pick the Tigers to win that division pretty easily, and they're already 11 and a half games ahead of the Minnesota Twins. American League West, I'm confident that the Houston Astros will win that division, but I think the Seattle Mariners will make the postseason as a wild card. Same with the Yankees and possibly the Blue Jays as well. 6 teams, I believe. 6 teams from each league make the playoffs, so that's a total of 12. National League, it's either going to be the Phillies or the Mets in the East. I'm going to pick the Mets to win the East, but which means the Phillies are going to be a wild card team. The Central, I'm kind of confident that the Chicago Cubs will win that division, and I think the Brewers will make the postseason as well. The St. Louis Cardinals, I don't know. I don't think they will. I think they might come up short. And then the National League West, got to pick the LA Dodgers again, the World Series champions. I think the San Francisco Giants will make the postseason as well. And I think same with the San Diego Padres. I don't think the Arizona Diamondbacks are going to make it. But hey, a lot can change. Remember last year? In September, the Detroit Tigers, they won a lot of games. So, it's hard to make these predictions. It really is. All right. Wow, that was a lot of baseball talk. All right. To the CFL. Week 6, I believe. No, it's week 7. It's already week 7. Thursday night football between the Toronto Argonauts and the Montreal Alouettes. Oh, by the way, before I get into that game, Wednesday night was the ESPYs Award. I didn't watch that. I used to watch that when I was younger, but not anymore. I'm just really not into that show. Award show or any other award show. And you know what? They would usually have the ESPYs Awards the day after the MLB All-Star game, because that Wednesday none of the 4 major sports are in action. NFL off-season, NBA, NHL, they just had their seasons, and MLB All-Star break. That's why the ESPYs are usually on the day after, the night after the All-Star game. But I checked to see if there's any sporting events happening on Wednesday, and there were some WNBA games. This weekend is the WNBA All-Star game. Will I watch it? I don't think I will. Because I heard that Caitlin Clark is not going to be in the All-Star game. So that probably is the main reason why I'm probably not going to watch it. And last night there was a sporting event for me, the CFL game, Thursday Night Football. So it was the Toronto Argonauts against their rivals, the Montreal Alouettes, and my gosh. Let me look up the TSN scoring summary for this. And I watched this game. I had the audio on, the sound. First of all, welcome back, Milt Stegall. I didn't know he came back because I missed the pregame show. But I heard the announcers, Dustin Nielsen and Glenn Suter, they said, welcome back, our great friend, CFL family, Milt Stegall. So it was great to have him back in the studio. It's just crazy, man. Yeah, son passed away right when the season began, you know?
Came at a high cost.
It's unbelievable. But then they showed him in the studio at the halftime show, and, you know, he's happy to be back. So it was great to see him back. But, man, I still miss what's Matt Dunnigan. I still miss that guy. I still miss him. We won't know why he decides not to be part of the CFL on TSN team anymore, but it is what it is. Maybe he decided not to do it anymore. Maybe somehow his contract expired. I don't know. We'll never know why he's no longer on there, but he was everyone's favorite. All right, first quarter, not much happened. A couple of field goals, 3-3 after the first quarter. And then both teams got a single, so 4-4. Score is 4-4. Remember, a single is when a team won't return the ball out of the end zone. So you give if you don't return the ball out of the end zone, you give a single point to the other team. You know, the end zones are gigantic. Makes the American football end zones look tiny. I know, crazy. So Chad Kelly, the Argonauts quarterback, did not return yet. So it was Nick Arbuckle. All right, so they took the lead 11-4. And then they got a interception. And they were already in, you know, red zone territory, so they scored another touchdown, 18-4, and that was a killer. And then towards halftime, the Alouettes scored a field goal to make it 18-7. And then the third quarter, another touchdown for the Argonauts to make it 25-7. So then the Alouettes had to make a comeback. Davis Alexander, the Alouettes quarterback, came back after suffering a hamstring injury. He was out the last 2 games before this game, and they lost. The Alouettes lost their last 2 games before Alexander came back. So Alexander completed a touchdown pass to make it 25-14, down by 11. Fourth quarter, Sean Thomas Erlington got a touchdown for the Alouettes to make it 25-20. They went for the 2-point conversion, but they failed. And then the Argonauts could not score, so then the Alouettes get the ball again, and then they went down the field quick, and I forgot the player's name, but he was about to go into the end zone for another Alouettes touchdown, and he fumbled the ball. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, no way. And Dustin Nielsen, he's a great announcer. Seems like Dustin Nielsen calls the crazy, crazy games sometimes. He's like, oh my gosh, what is happening, you know? So, yeah. Fumbled the ball in the end, right before he scored, and the Argonauts took over on downs, basically. It was a turnover. But hey, you get 3 downs in the Canadian Football League, so you can get the ball back quicker, sooner, and luckily for me, the Toronto Argonauts didn't score, so then the Alouettes get the ball back, and they scored. This time they scored. Oh, never mind. The Argonauts, they also fumbled the ball, and that's how the Alouettes regain. They took over. It's like we're back to where we were, right? It's so bizarre sometimes. CFL can have some bizarre, wild plays. And then the Alouettes score a touchdown. Davis Alexander, he rushed for 10 yards. But then, that's the good news. Alouettes take the lead. The bad news is Alexander was holding on to his left leg due to that hamstring injury. So that was unfortunate. And then the Alouettes, they went for the 2-point conversion, but they also did not successfully get those 2 points. And they stopped the Argonauts. And the Alouettes won by 1 point, 26-25, after being down 25-7 in the third quarter. So they scored 19 points in the second half. What a comeback. Wow. Because that was... What a crazy comeback. Because that was pretty intense, you know, especially that one Alouettes player was about to score a touchdown, but then he fumbled. McFadden from the Argonauts, he had a great game. I think it was I forget what quarter this was, but Alexander attempted a long pass into the end zone, and Alexander from the Argonauts got a hand on the ball. So, yeah. It's hard to put in the words into a game like this. So, the Alouettes survived. They came back and won. They beat their rivals again. The Alouettes are 3-2, and the Argonauts are 1-4. The Grey Cup champions are 1-4. When's the last time that happened? Yeah. Okay. So, the rest of the games, I'm going to give you my predictions here. Friday Night Football, this is going to be a big matchup. A rematch from the Stampede Bowl. Calgary Stampeders at the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The Stampeders, they beat the Rough Riders, Saskatchewan Rough Riders at the Rough Riders. I think the Blue Bombers are going to get revenge. I'm going to pick them because Milt Stiegel's going to be there, who used to play for the Blue Bombers. And He looks the same too, by the way. So that's great for him. Saturday evening, Saskatchewan Roughriders at the BC Lions. Now this is an interesting one. Didn't these two teams meet in week 1? No, it was the Elks, I believe. I can see BC pulling off a big win. I think they're going to win. I think their home crowd is going to help them win this game, but I'm not that confident. I'm going to pick the Lions to win. It's hard to pick these games because these games are unpredictable. They're basically unpredictable. Sunday evening, the Hamilton Tiger Cats at the Ottawa Red Blacks. I'm going to go with the Tiger Cats in this one. I think the Tiger Cats, I should win that game. But hey, these games, they're hard to predict. You just never know what will happen. So there you go. My Week 7 predictions. The Edmonton Elks have a bye. All right, they have a bye in this week. All right, let me see any other big news here. Let's see if I have any breaking news from ESPN here. So I mentioned the WNBA All-Star game. Caitlin Clark will not participate in the WNBA All-Star game. Oh, Paige Beckers. I think she'll be in it. I don't know. This is her first season in the WNBA, but she had a fantastic last season at UConn. And not too long ago, we got to see a Caitlin Clark against Paige Beckers game. Dallas against Indiana. Let's see here. That's about it in terms of the big news here. But yeah, you guys know I listen to a lot of sports talk podcasts, and some of the people, they're on vacation. Yeah, a lot of people, they take a vacation during this time of the year because there's not that much big news going on in sports. Even though it is the summer season, you do have a lot of sports are meant to be played during the summer, spring, and fall. Well, you know, we got the 4 major sports. That's what they mainly talk about. Well, they mainly talk about NFL and NBA, some MLB, hardly any NHL until the playoffs. So it's a lot of these shows are football or basketball related, you know. So, but yeah, they deserve it, obviously, because especially if it's like the 5-day week show, you know. This podcast is twice a week. All right. So, but yeah, I know I said this before, I keep forgetting, in a future episode, maybe a bonus episode of KSN, I can tell you guys all my favorite sports talk podcasts, all right? And if you guys like this podcast, thank you very much for following these episodes. We're already at 59 episodes, and I started in, I think it was like 10 days before Christmas of last year, so here we are about 7 months later already. So I'm glad this channel is going well, especially after that live stream. Me watching that All-Star game, at one point during the swing-off tiebreaker, 40 people were watching at the same time. It's insane. But I don't know when the next live stream will be, but I mentioned this before, Saturday is always the biggest day in sports, so maybe on a Saturday, maybe most likely not tomorrow, but maybe a future Saturday, I can do a live stream of me watching multiple sporting events at once, because I've been doing that lately. At least 2 things at once. 3 things at once, that's rare for me. 4, that's never happened. But, I don't know when I'll do it. I'll probably just go live whenever. So make sure you have that notification bell turned on. Alright, guys. MLB season resumes. So enjoy the rest of the season. And I'll be back on Monday to recap, mainly talk about the rest of the Week 7 of the CFL. That's it. Thank you for listening to Keith's Sports News.